the penultimate episode of the Letters from the Dark series, where I take a look at Volume 7, Monster Mash. In the title, you're going to assume that this is probably a bestiary or that sort of, but it's not. It's more than that. It's got 6 adventures in it, but the crux of the book is actually playing the monster races for the players. So before we get into the book itself, let's just, as always, go to Tabletop RPG. So this is where you can pick it up. It's currently available in PDF copy, and you can get softback and the PDF copy for the same price at time of recording. It's a 94 page, so it's one of the larger of the books. So we've got Letters from the Dark, Volume 7, Monster Mash. If you do pick this up, please do use my affiliate link, because this is something I paid for myself. By using the link, it just helps me then finance putting money towards other books for them to me to review on the channel. Right, what are we getting in this? Are we the baddies? No. So the whole point of this book is really allowing the players to play the sort of more monstrous races, but run them alongside your standard dwarfs, dwarfs, halflings, humans, things like that. It's also going to give you changes to the existing ancestries of the 6 races in the core rulebook. It's also going to give you changes to the 6 core races in the main rulebook. There's a load of new NPCs, and you've got 6 really variety of different adventures, from hex crawls, dungeon crawls. There is a gauntlet in there as well. And these are really based on the 6 sort of monster races that are actually in this book. Right, so before I get into the book, if you like this sort of thing, please do like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And I also do have my own Discord and Patreon, and I'm on X as well as Facebook, so you can find me multiple places now. So here we have the book. Here we go. Letters from the Dark, Volume 7, Monster Mash. The ongoing theme and the initial criticism I've had from all of these is you just do not know that this is a Shadowdark book at all. It doesn't say it anywhere on the front cover, and it's not done in that sort of style of them. Maybe by book 8 they will be. We shall see. The designer and writer of the book is Chris Powell. There's a foreword here, like in all of the books, which is done from a sort of fictitious character that has discovered all this. And this is done in a sort of... it's being explained to the players. Like the previous books, this is all hyperlinked as well, which is always good. But so the contents will take you through new resources, which is detailing about how to implement the monster races into your game. New ancestries here, so beastmen, gnolls, goblinoids, lizardfolk, orcs, viperians, fully detailing their names. And then half of the book is the 6 new adventures. First section then is resources, so expanded resources for players and GMs. So players can stick around for now. When we get to the adventures towards the end, that's the point where you probably should just leave, just because of the spoilers in here. So this book is, so the monstrous section really is detailing the new, well, not new, but the ability to play the 6 races in here. Frequency deals with so if you're going to randomly allow the players to randomly roll, so there are more humans in Shadowdark, or in this world anyway. So that's actually very much like Warhammer Fantasy, where the player will roll a d100 and it will just give them the chance. So a lot of these races, there's only a 1% chance of actually picking up some of the monstrous races. How the world is going to interact or react to these is really up to you. So the next couple of pages is really about, are you going to allow the players to sort of fit into the world, and people aren't going to be scared of them. People see them as sort of good or evil, and depending on how you're going to deal with their alignments, because not all gnolls necessarily are going to be an evil race, and not all humans are going to be good. So this is just detailing an idea of how to implement it, as well as giving a random alignment table if you want to. Personally, I'd probably just go with picking whatever suits for the interactions that they're going to have, and let the players be surprised when they find out that some of the races are good. And then you could run them for a while, and then people, the players might always think that gnolls are going to be good, and then give them some evil gnolls or chaotic gnolls, because that just breaks away from the norm. Ancestry variants. The 6 original races in the core rulebooks are dwarf, elf, goblin, halfling, and human. Have all got a different sort of ancestral talent. So this, you can just interchange, pick one. If you're going to use this one, you can't use the one from the main rule book. So for example, elves here are going to get meditate. You only need 4 hours of meditation to receive the benefits of a rest, as opposed to the standard 8 hours. NPC modifications. Rather interesting table here that allows you just to give existing monsters, well, the monster creatures in the bestiaries, some additional abilities, advantages or disadvantages, it may be, because some of them are just get a vast improvement. So here we've got, say, the salamander. It's going to be impervious to fire, and creatures close to it will do a con, or they're going to take 1 d8 damage. But things like the vampire, so they will gain the ability to climb a lot faster, supreme undead, so immune to moral checks, but they will get a sort of floor here where they must sleep in their coffin or take an amount of hit points on a daily basis. So it's just a variant as well, just to make the existing creatures and monsters within Shadowdark a little bit more sort of diverse and interesting. Languages, I was a bit in this section. I think people will either like or dislike this section, because I like the idea of it. It's for example, we've got here giants, and it says, giants use their own tongue, giant folk, and it gives you an example of how their language will look written down. Got the same thing from Sylvan, Orcish, Draconic, etc., which is really good, beautifully designed, well thought out. But then it just gives you 3 different words in there. So it's nice to have the idea, I suppose, but I kind of maybe would have wanted to see this fleshed out into because if you're going to sort of set a puzzle in these languages as written, you haven't really got a lot to go on. It's an idea. I think maybe from Chris we might see a full fleshed out language book, which would be really good and really interesting. So I like what's here, and it's a really good teaser. I think I'd like to have seen more, or not at all, because I don't know, it's just me. Let me know in the comments what you think of this languages here. The next section is ancestries. Players can still be here because this is the new 6 playable monstrous races, so to speak, that can now be offered for the players. Each one of the races will have a 2-page spread, which will just detail their ancestral talent, the languages, and a little bit of a description of how they look. We then get to look at origins and society, and that sort of, so for example, the beastmen will live in a special social group of sort of 40 to 50 individuals, and the sort of background of where they came from. It gives them the belief structures and sort of deities, etc. And then examples of the fighter, priest, thief, and wizard. So all of the new sort of monster races will have this sort of layout, as well as some artwork. Then they'll have some idea of equipment. So for example, the beastmen are more primitive in this world, so it just gives an idea of the starting equipment and weapons they should have, as well as 4 new weapons. And then some NPCs, from an elder to a gatherer to a shaman and a hunter. So we've got the same again here for the gnolls. And a lot more NPCs on the gnolls. Goblinoids, this is not just goblins, so because the goblin stats already exist, so this is bugbears and hobgoblins as well, detailing then, like the rest of them, adventurers, the organisation, the philosophy, and examples of goblinoids. Lizard folk, these have bone magic, so their variance is that they will have some of their own spells, which is detailed over the next 2 pages, so they can do things like spraying blood. So the sort of things you'd expect a sort of lizard to be able to do. And all lizards can learn these as part of their, so you add them to the spells available for a wizard, and non-lizard folk can actually be taught these. Orcs, the special thing that the orcs get is the Orcish tattoo, and these can't be bought. They technically work like blessings, but they are given out for doing acts of courage and bravery, which is more often than not is going to just increase the power of the orc. And then we've got Viperians at the end, which are your sort of snake-like people. And they've just got some gods here because they've got their own gods. And finally, some examples of them. All of the new races do get names. So there's a random table where you can just randomly roll the names and the groups for them as well. And then we're getting into the 6 monstrous campaign. So as a player, now is your time to leave. Thank you for being here. You can't stay any longer. Well, you can, but you're going to ruin this if your games master decides he's ever going to run these. These 6 adventures are not, they're tailor-made to introduce each of the new playable monster races in this book, okay? And they vary in ability, so that they will go from a 5th level plus for the orcs, a 3rd level plus for the lizard folk, a gauntlet with the goblins, which is 0 level, the hyenas is +1, and then we've got the viperians and the beast are both level 1. All of these are different. There will be spoilers as we go through. I'm not going to directly spoil them, but obviously if you are watching this, you will see a sort of, you know, some of the maps and things like that. From the maps point of view, there are 15 maps included when you purchase this on DriveThruRPG, and you can they are designed to quite easily adapt onto any sort of VTT. So for example, the first one, so it's got this asymmetrical map design here. It does come in 3 versions, this one. It's got a top-down sort of 2D one, which obviously you can put on a VTT. It's got this one with all the numbers and points on it, and then it's got a blank one for the to give out to the players. Okay. Details of the adventures are here. They are all different. They are all so it's like one's a hex crawl. I think 2 of them are dungeon crawls. One's a point-based sort of move around, and like, you know, you've got the gauntlet, etc. in here. I'll cover a little bit of them. So each one will have a hook. So this is why the player should go. And it then gives you a setup and any sort of prior knowledge the players will have about this. So this Blood and Steel one, they're going in there because they are the Duragar are they've managed to find the magical they're making magical weapons from the magical stone and rocks and stuff that have been found in this cave. So it's to go down there and find them. And it's got this really fun bit with the counterfeit weapons. So not all the weapons that they find are going to be the weapon that they think they need. Final delivery is the one for the lizard folk, and this is a standard hex crawl where they will basically go in from any town. It does say you can include this in any town and have them sort of move across. They will have a sponsor, which links back into Letters from the Dark Volume 6, which was the pirate one, which I really like the pirate one. But sponsors are people that are sort of paying or gifting or allowing the player characters to borrow things like caravans or clothes and weapons and magical items and things like that, for them to go and do something to encourage to get the mission. So this is what that hex crawl will cover, and they're basically trying to find a village. This one is weird. This is your gauntlet. It's a 0 level gauntlet where you all play a bunch of goblin children, and they are told to go and find something to race across to the end, and whoever survives wins. Yes, it's a gauntlet with 1-year-old childlike monstrous goblins. Enjoy yourself with it. Seems quite a laugh if you don't mind the fact that 1-year-old little kids are, well, work it out for yourself. It's a gauntlet. Hyena Boy is a 1 location. So there is a Hyena Boy in a circus, and it's all basically based within this circus, which is a mystery to go and find out, you know, where did Hyena Boy come from. And it's obviously very much linked into the Knolls, and I'm going to sort of skip through. So you've got sort of, well, let's say there's 2 locations really. So you've got the circus itself to interact with and all the details of the circus, and then you've got the sort of the area around it. But yeah, it's quite a small investigation one. Snake Pit, the players are waking up in a prison cell here, so smack bang in the middle of the map, which is on 1, and they need to escape from the Viperian people, which some players will like this, other players won't. There is a way to get their equipment back slightly earlier, so it's not all bad news. But sometimes over the years when I've run these, you wake up sort of tied up and stuff. Some of them go well, others don't. And then the final one, Stolen Sun, is just a point-to-point sort of discovery adventure. And I quite like it. I'm never sure because I like the hex crawl idea, and this one just takes out because it's of where he goes and sort of the random encounters and the different encounters you're going to get determine whether it's forest, mountain, or snow. So it's a little bit hex crawly in essence. Then you're finally going to get into a dungeon to go and deal with the Sun Temple, and I'm like, I don't know anymore. I quite like the hex crawl randomness of it, but I think that one's going to be very much each to its own. And then we get a little teaser here for the last in the series. So this is volume 8, Lucky Stars, which is going to be an encounter at Korolev Pass. So it's a high level adventure through the bowels of an alien spaceship, and this is going to cover aliens, robots, bizarre creatures, and more. So we're finally going to get a sci-fi one. Okay, so as ever, what do I think of Monster Mash? This is genuinely the one that, out of all of them, I did say when I did the very first book, there's got to be some, I think, because the first 5 or 6 I really enjoyed. The Privateer sort of pirate one is, I think that's the one that maybe a little bit hit and miss. This one, I'm not sure how I really feel about this one. I've written down my thoughts on it, and I'm so like, because it's not a bestiary, and so it's basically a player's handbook that allows the players to play monster races if they want to. But then it does all this stuff towards the start where it talks about if the players are going to play a monster race, if you don't kind of want to make them like a stereotypical monster, and then if they're not going to be that, do they just then fall down into allow anyone to play anything? Which I like. More options and more choice is always better. I like the fact it sort of changes the initial ancestry talents from the original 6, so that again, more choice is better. But we're only getting 6 additional monsters in here, or playable characters as opposed to monsters. Some of them are interesting. So the language bit, I was like, meh. Take or leave that out of the book. That didn't bother me. But I think what this book has done for me, and the reason why I'm a little bit on it, is because I want to have seen more on the ancestries than that's in there. Because I'll show you what I mean. Because what we've got when we look at them, we'll pick the goblinoids, which is probably the worst example, because we've got bugbears, goblins, and hobgoblins in this section. Doesn't really cover any of it. So there's a little bit about goblins. Refers to goblins, bugbears, hobgoblins, 3 closely related ancestries, and details the philosophy, a bit about their society and organisation. Only really gives the example of bugbears and hobgoblins, doesn't really give any examples of the goblin races. I know goblins are obviously covered in some of the earlier, the main books anyway, but I kind of wanted to see more, and sort of things like the special weapons and stuff. It's a really good teaser book, and I'm hoping that Chris then will write a little bit more on the races themselves, because what didn't happen, and I thought this was going to happen with the 6 adventures at the back, is I thought they were going to sort of detail a little bit more about them. So because this one's more about the dwarves and the Duragai, you're going in there to get it, you're playing orcs, etc. The final delivery, you're basically a lizard folk has died, and you're basically taking the body to go and discover where the village is. So all 6 adventures are good, apart from that gauntlet one. That it reads like a good adventure. It just seems a little bit. Whatever you may think, I have a bit of a torrid time going. Happy birthday, little children. We don't need to get you a present. Well, most of you don't need a present because you ain't going to get to the end. I don't know. It's a bizarre plot for that one. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below. I'm a little bit on this one. I just, I don't dislike it. I don't love it. So that's it. That's my very ambiguous summary of Monster Mash, which is part 7 of the Letters from the Dark by Chris Powell. So we will be looking at volume 8, the last one, which is sci-fi and aliens with weapons and laser pistols and laser swords, possibly, and spaceships. So yeah, that's got me excited. So if you've enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you on the next video. Thank you for watching.